I don't know, Kirk. Am I nuts? Which image looks better here?
That one for sure.
Yes.
Hold on, let me get a shot here.
Now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because this is the premium model. This has the better refresh rate, and it also has the higher pixel density. Ah, finally! We've got the new Note devices. Man, the strings needed to be pulled, but they are here in studio, so I'm happy about that. It's the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. No Plus model this year. They switched it around a little bit, and that's why I've got some other devices on the table to talk about how we got here. Starting with the Note 10, this thing, this form factor is gone. That's your tiny little Note. I don't know how popular this model was, but it was your entry-level Note for last year. Of course, you had the Plus model, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of the S20 Ultra for scale, though you can tell it's a little bit fatter there. And so now it's just Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. And as you can see here, there's actually not that much difference in size. It's like 6.7 inches versus 6.9, but there is quite a difference in design. The Ultra model has these curved edges, this more premium feel. It's actually the first phone to feature the new Gorilla Glass Victus, which has this improved scratch resistance. That glass is going to be on the back of the device and the front of the device. So that's a nice little upgrade. Now, by contrast, the regular Note 20 couldn't be more different. This one, I know you're looking at it in camera, you've seen it in videos, and I don't know if anybody's told you yet, but this one doesn't have that premium feeling. This one is made out of plastic that sort of looks like a blasted glass, the kind of matte finish we've seen from other brands, but it doesn't feel that way at all. It's not fooling anyone. In fact, when Kirk picked up this phone, he was saying, "Is that a dummy phone?" And he was being sincere. It does have a kind of dummy phone attribute to it, and it's kind of surprising, to be honest, at the $1,000 price point to have a feel like that. And I started to think to myself, hasn't Samsung done a plastic back before? And did they do it better in the past? And then I reached for this device here, which is an A series from Samsung, budget device. And this is a plastic back, but it's got a glossy finish, which of course doesn't do you any good for fingerprints. But when you tap on it, it's tight. It's tight to the internal components, so you don't feel some kind of air gap when you tap. This one, on the other hand, now, I don't know if this is going to change very much for the retail units, but as it stands right now, I would say that's not a very impressive first impression for a $1,000 device. Now, I should mention, since you see these other devices are wearing later cases, you could throw a later case on the Note 20, and we are already taking pre-orders for this Kevlar texture ultra thin case, whether it's the Note 20 or the Note 20 Ultra. This one gives you the premium feel on its own with the glass, but then you have to contend with fingerprints, and the regular Note 20 series just doesn't feel premium, in my opinion. And if you slap this texture on there, you can make a significant improvement. But I wear these cases on any phone that I use, and I feel like it improves almost any texture. But in this case, it's even more important because of that kind of cheap vibe that it puts out. Now, outside of the backing on the Note 20, I kind of like the scale of it. I actually don't even mind the boxiness of the edges, because I'm one of these people that gets apprehensive about the unintentional presses that sometimes happen with these aggressively curved displays. Now, this one is not the most aggressive that I've ever seen, so it's probably not going to be an issue here, but as you glance at the side, you see just how slim the frame is. It's actually, well, it's one of these engineering marvels where you've got glass essentially going as far as possible and a minimized frame wherever possible. This one, of course, because of the Ultra name, it's gonna have some features that are extra on top of the regular Note 20 series. It's got a higher price tag, so that's what you'd expect. You've got a 50 times zoom on this camera module. You've got 108 megapixels in this camera module on the main cam, whereas the regular version, this is only gonna be a 64 megapixel camera on the main camera unit, and it's only gonna be a 30 times zoom. So if you are into the zoom thing, I don't know what the right amount of range is while maintaining quality. The 100x zoom on the S20 Ultra is not something I used frequently, even though I did use this device frequently. So 50x is probably gonna be enough for most users. Now, another thing I should mention about the Ultra model, it's a massive hump. It's an absolute beast. It looks to be even taller than what you have on the S20 Ultra. And I don't know if Kurt can pick that up or show us what we're working with there. They're very close, but I'm gonna say that the new one happens to be taller. Now, these two devices, there's so much crossover, it's hard to say which one is preferred. Obviously, they've got a different design. The Note series is a bit boxier. The camera layout is a bit more narrow. This model adds the Plus version of the Snapdragon 865, which is pretty much the chip that you want right now if you're using an Android device. This new Note, the Ultra model, also has 12 gigs of RAM, so it does have those kind of powerhouse specs. And of course, we can't forget that both models come with the S Pen. And if it's an S Pen or any kind of pen input that you're after in 2020, this is pretty much as good as a pen experience can get on a mobile phone as it stands right now. And both the regular Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra are gonna ship with this thing. Now, even though they've both got this S Pen in there, the pen latency, which has been improved from the previous model, which is gonna give you that really fluid experience, is actually a little better on the Ultra model. So it's another thing to keep in mind when you're deciding between the two. Now, pricing, we're looking at $999 to start for the regular Note 20, and then the Note 20 Ultra is starting at $1,300. So a very premium device. And of course, this is coming at a time, well, we're in a pandemic time, so it's kind of a hefty price tag for a smartphone. And when you put it up against some of the recent launches, like say, for example, the Pixel 4a, it's hard not to look at this thing as expensive. Well, it is expensive, and it is premium, and it is in its own category when you consider the fact that it's pretty much all you can get with the pen. All right, so let's go ahead and check out some of the attributes here. I'm gonna start with the Ultra model. Maybe we'll do some kind of speaker showdown to see how they sound.
Down to figure out which is better. Honestly, it's preference. And then, what is it, a day before neither of the photos is bad. In fact,
The Ultra model sounds better. You're not surprised. They are both good sounding for smartphones, I should say, but I'm gonna give the edge to the Ultra model for dialogue. Maybe we throw up a little bit of music real quick. Yeah, it's the same deal over here. Dialogue, music, the Ultra model, it's up there for some of the better ones I've heard. You would expect that at that price tag. This one's not terrible, but it's not on the same level. The other thing I just wanted to check was the hole punch. The Infinity O. Actually, this one looks like it needs a little more brightness. Oh, interesting. That's max, though. What? Am I crazy? What's going on here? These screens actually look quite a bit different. Like, not even close on this graphic. Let's see, can we, 720p? Let's do that. 720p. It's the same video on YouTube. Whoa. The regular model display looks better. What? Well, it at least looks more saturated. Let me check something real quick. Display Adaptive is off. Motion smoothness. We know this one is different. Actually, I should mention the Ultra model 120 hertz refresh, so way smoother operation. Kind of a must. Something a lot of people are looking for at this price tag. But obviously it's a different display, and it is in vivid mode. It's currently in the vivid color setting and in the center for white balance. And let's go ahead and see this device. Also in vivid. And in the center for white balance. Oh, this is weird. Is it possible that the non-Ultra model actually has a more pleasing image? A more saturated image? Look at that. I don't know if Kirk got a good shot. Definitely the overhead camera should get a good shot. That's not what I expected at all. Now, it is just one image. It is just one YouTube video, but I don't know, Kirk. Am I nuts? Which image looks better here?
That one for sure.
Yes.
Hold on, let me get a shot here.
Now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because this is the premium model. This has the better refresh rate, and it also has the higher pixel density. It's just, it looks a little more subdued than the typical Samsung screen on this image. Let me bring up, let's just, I don't know, why don't we look for another photo? Something, let's see here. All right, so some display specifications here, just brought to my attention. 6.7-inch flat FHD Plus Super AMOLED Plus Infinity O 2400 by 1080 HDR10 Plus certified 393 PPI. That's this one, the cheap guy, the regular Note 20. That one, 6.9 Edge Quad HD Plus Dynamic AMOLED 2X Infinity O display. 3088 by 1440, 496 PPI, also HDR10 Plus certified. So what are we looking at here? What's going on? Is the vivid mode not the same? Kirk, why is my cheap phone brighter? Yeah, it's less contrast. I don't know. This display looks less on the surface. It looks more like it's embedded beneath glass, kind of like it's just lacking some punch. I'm totally nitpicking. These are both awesome. Look, I mean, like, they're Samsung displays. They're flagship level displays, but yeah, I'm just a bit surprised to compare these two and be, I don't know, just for them to even be comparable. You have you have a different price point. You have a different name. You have a different spec. You have a higher resolution. Yeah, that's going to make some people's decisions hard. I don't know. Personally, for me, going back to 60 hertz is going to be a bit of an issue. But if I had to pick, without considering refresh rate, and if I didn't care a whole ton about maximum resolution, there's something really pleasing about the way the regular Note 20 display is set up right now, these two units in front of me. And I know, like I said, I'm nitpicking. They both are great looking displays, but it's just odd to find the cheaper model, the more pleasing of the two. But like I said, I'm not necessarily picking it because the 60 hertz thing, you know I'm into what I'm into. I'm into the refresh. It will allow you to select adaptive or standard. That's it. That's all you get. And that kind of bugs me too. I'd like to lock it at 120 or lock it at 60. Now, I guess standard does lock it at 60, but I want to be able to lock it at 120 as well and not have it just simply decide for me. Other brands let you do this. I would hope that Samsung would consider letting me do that too. The screen resolution here can go up, so let's do that. Maybe that'll fix things. Well, definitely the resolution got better. I mean, yeah, but the image is still less punchy. Might be to somebody's taste, but probably some people that might be surprised if they see these side by side. You can get a look here at the difference in the Infinity O, the way the Infinity O is applied in each model. It's quite a bit bigger on the cheap model, and you have less screen that you're working with, so your screen to body ratio is actually quite a bit different. between the two devices. Some other differences between these, you have 12 gigs of RAM versus 8 gigs of RAM. They both have the 865 Plus chip if you get it in North America. If you're not in North America, you're gonna get the Exynos chip. And I know a lot of people hit me up about this. A lot of people are not happy about this, that there's no option for the 865 Plus in their region. I mean, that's the chip. That's the aspirational chip in the Android universe for the time being. Samsung says they worked on the Exynos stuff, or they like it. They would. They are Samsung. But I think many users would appreciate maybe even just having an option to buy the Snapdragon model. I understand it's more complicated, but I feel bad. I'm posting about the Note series. I'm rocking the 865 Plus, and other people are telling me, they're complaining. They're saying, why can't I get what you have, Lou? And I'm saying, Samsung, give it to them if that's what they want. It is time for us to check out these cameras. The world famous plant is back. It's been a minute, but don't you worry, fret not. The plant survives. Wow, this object has never been featured as a model previously. Is this what Vin uses to clean the sensors? Incredible. How about it's a combo effect? Look at this. The plant can be the host of accessories. Look at that. All right, so first up, let's look at the Ultra model. And as expected, number of different settings here in the stock photo. 3 different camera lenses. We have the 0.5, the 1x, and the 5x, and we can keep going from there to 50x. I'm looking at tiny little chips in the table. So lots of different options there. We will use the plant to get a sense for the range of options. Here we have the ultra wide, bang, followed by the 1x and the 5x setting and the 50x. Let's do that. Whoa. Let's try to get the knife. So obviously here we have some pretty tremendous versatility. I mean, 50x indoors. What are we doing? Like, what is this blob? We're probably not going to use that. Now this, on the other hand, the 5x, that's usable and quite detailed. Wow. The standard camera, the main camera, I should say, that's doing something for me. That's quite pleasing. I'm cropping in. It's surprisingly, once again, now I don't know if it's the display or the image, but once again, the green, not the most saturated for a Samsung display / camera combo. And don't forget the ultra wide. I find this to be very useful and practical. It's quite the range and versatility represented in the camera department. It's everything you really need in a smartphone camera. When you go beyond this, you start putting extra units. Yeah, they don't get used all that much. It's a kind of a bragging rights thing. So this camera setup, it's got everything you need in it. Now the other model obviously is doing something different with zoom. It's not gonna take the zoom nearly as far. And the main camera sensor is different. So let's do the same thing. Ultra wide, 1x, 3x, 30x. All right. What's odd is this 30x and the 50x on the other one are really quite similar and equally useless in most cases. That's your 3x. That's a decent looking image. Of course, this is your main camera right here, your 1x, very nice looking, and your ultra wide, which I see a slight shift in color balance between those two. I want to compare the main camera results from each of the two of these real quick, if you don't mind. Main camera units. Interesting. More, and again, it's important to note that there are multiple factors at play here. It is not simply the photo, but you also have the attributes of the display On the right, I have something that's a bit warmer. I have something that, if you look in the shadow detail here, you're kind of preserving more of the data there, but you end up losing some of the depth in the black that you get over here. This is kind of crazy, but once again, and part of this has to do with the display, but if I just compare these two, I'm probably picking the left one. This sort of looks more like an iPhone performance, the way that iPhones are currently treating the shadow department of photos. It's interesting. It's a preference thing. They both look great. All right, now the video camera is a whole different deal because these things shoot up to 8K at 24 frames per second. Of course, this is going to be uploaded at 4K, but let's just try it anyways. Let's see what the behavior is like. 16 by 9, 8K, that's 7680 by 4320 resolution. Let's do it. And this is going to be a tremendous file size, obviously. We are now rolling at 8K resolution on a smartphone. In the past, these have been a little bit susceptible to micro movements. It's so much detail on a smartphone, and you're really asking quite a lot. So sometimes you give up in the stability and the smoothness of your video feed. So that's an 8K 24 frame per second video shot on a smartphone. At 8K resolution on a smartphone. You're listening to me through the phone right now as well, so that should give you an idea of the audio performance also. That's pretty good stuff. You know, one thing that's been a problem for me on the previous model, especially right out of the box before it got updated a couple times, the Ultra model, S20 Ultra, I was using that for a while. My SIM card was in that for a couple of months at least. And one of the big drawbacks for me was the autofocus in video and also at high resolutions. This, my first 8K sample, I was kind of all right with that autofocus. Now, I think I should stress it a little bit more. Let's just try this again. Okay, this is test number 2. I'm curious about the autofocus on this thing, especially at this really high resolution. So I'm going to hold my hand in front of the camera and see how quickly it changes focus. Oh yeah, it has definitely sped up from the previous model. Now I'll just pick up a different phone here, put that in front, try something else. Ooh. Yes. And back to the plant. Oh, they did it. They did it. Did you know that, Kirk? They did it. No, you didn't expect them to do it. You thought it was a spec. You thought it was just, we could do 8K. We could do 8K. That's how the meeting went down. It was like a jingle. And we could do 8K. Yeah, we could do 8K. No, they actually executed it. It is not like my first attempts with the S20 Ultra once upon a time. This is a different story now. The thing can autofocus now, so now it's really useful. I might have to kick out all these pro cameras right quick, including the one that's being held right there. It's going to be all Note 20 Ultras. 8K 24 frames per second. Just, you know, I'm joking, Kirk. You could pick up. It's a joke. But still, it's pretty cool stuff. I'm not surprised. I expected these to be camera performers. I expected them to be premium. One of them feels really premium. The other one, less so. I have a limited amount of time here to evaluate these things, and these are not retail units. So, you know, some things could change, particularly in the area of the color balance and what appears to be the slightly nicer saturated image that's on the cheaper of the two models. That could change a little bit, but that's what I'm looking at right here, right now. The camera versatility, a little bit better on the Ultra model. The horsepower, a little bit better on the Ultra model. The speakers, a little bit better on the Ultra model. The refresh rate, a little bit better on the Ultra model. But as you saw in this video, there's a couple areas where I actually prefer the non-Ultra model, and I'd be like, hey, save $300. Actually, the only thing I don't like about it is the plastic back. But I told you already how you can fix that. all you gotta do is pick up a later case for yourself, which is something I wear on all my phones anyways. That's the S20 Ultra, but you know I'm doing the same right now on the OnePlus 8 Pro, but I think this one's actually sold out at the moment. But anyways, if you happen to pick up the non-Ultra version of the new Note, you may want to check that out. It's on pre-order right now. And we also launched another new product. That's this one right here, bonus unboxing. This is the later case for the AirPods Pro. And would you check out that fit? It's all very slick. It's all very precise. This just went on pre-order as well. The buttons still have access. It goes on nice and easy, and it doesn't come off. It's a permanent installation, and it protects, and also, you know, it gives a certain style to your AirPods Pro. When you put the pair together, I mean, check it out. Although that's a Samsung, so some people might not be happy about that, but I think it looks all right, to be honest. Designed in Canada, made with Kevlar, ultra thin, 0.6 millimeters, featherweight, 6 grams, superior texture, stronger than steel, 5X. Magnets in the packaging as well, 100% DuPont Kevlar. You slide it open, check out the presentation. Yeah, we improved. We heard the criticisms. It's a work in progress. That's the beauty of it. You get to follow along as things take place, and it's gonna be no different, actually, for these two models that just came out. I have to say, I think Samsung's doing some nice things. However, I do have to reiterate, these are some premium tickets, some premium price tags in 2020 when people are being pretty cost sensitive, and you're really gonna have to have that extra cash sitting around to be looking at a flagship or really want that pen functionality. Otherwise, you might be looking a little more closely at something like the Pixel 4a. And yes, that thing finally showed up, so I'm gonna go shoot that video right now and maybe even compare it to some of my findings in this one. This episode of Unbox Therapy has been brought to you by NordVPN. That is my VPN of choice. I've been using Nord for a number of years now. NordVPN has extensions that you can use in Chrome. You can, of course, also download the app on iOS or Android. It's super easy to use. There are servers all over the world, and you can save some money right now. If you're not using a VPN, you should probably have one. If you head over to the link in the description or use the offer code UNBOXTherapy, you can save a bunch of money. In fact, I think you can save up to 70% on a 3-year plan. Nord will also give you a 30-day free trial, so you don't even have to make a commitment right away. You can give it a shot, see if you like it, and then go ahead and get the deal if you decide to keep it for a while. As mentioned, it's my VPN of choice, and everybody in the office here uses it and is actually subscribed to it. So check the description, and thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring the show.